Have you been feeling not quite like yourself lately? Like your body has quietly slowed down, almost like a phone, running 50 apps in the background, sluggish, drained, and unresponsive. And the only explanation you have been given, you're just getting older. But what if aging isn't the problem? What if your body is overwhelmed because of years of stress, hormone shifts, poor sleep, and inflammation? Now, the answer isn't pushing harder or suffering in silence. It's about clearing the inner clutter so your body can reset and function the way it was designed to. That's what this video is about. Rebooting your system at the cellular level so you can feel strong, energized, and like yourself again. So now let's look at mitochondria and why it matters more than you realize. So inside almost every cell in your body are teeny power plants called mitochondria. Their main job is simple but important. They turn energy and the food you eat into usable energy called ATP. Now that ATP is what powers your metabolism, basically how you burn fuel. Also your brain, so think things like your focus, your mood and memory. Your muscles, basically your strength and stamina. Also your liver and hormone system, which are responsible for things like repair, balance, and recovery. That's why high energy organs like your brain, liver, and muscle contain thousands of mitochondria. They need a constant supply of energy to function well. Now, your body is actually designed to handle short-term stress. This ability is called allostasis. This is your body's building way of adapting to challenges and staying balanced by adjusting hormones and signals like cortisol, adrenaline, insulin, and inflammatory messengers. So the problems start when those stress responses are turned on too often, stay activated too long, or don't fully shut down. That's when allostatic load begins to rise. Now, allostatic load is the total wear and tear on the body from repeated or chronic stressors. So not just emotional stress, but physical and environmental ones too. This load builds up over time from things like chronic stress and poor sleep, blood sugar swings, nutrient deficiency, ongoing inflammation, alcohol and long-term medication use, environmental exposures like pollution, smoke, plastic, and chemicals. So when this accumulative load exceeds the body's ability to adapt, cells and systems shift into survival mode instead of optimization. So at the cellular level, this shows up as increased oxidative stress when the production of reactive oxygen species increases beyond what the cell can neutralize. It also shows up as disrupted mitochondrial membranes. So oxidative stress damages key facts in the mitochondrial membrane. That matters because the membrane is where energy production happens. It shows up as calcium imbalance. So the mitochondria is overloaded with calcium. It shows up as endoplasmic reticulum stress. So the ER and the mitochondrium are physically connected. So stress in one area spreads to the other. And so it slows energy production. So in simple terms, when allostatic load stays high for long, cells shift into protection mode to prevent further damage. But protection comes at a cost: lower energy, slower metabolism, and reduced resilience. So in safe mode, energy drops even with good sleep. Recovery is slow after workouts. You have more brain fogs or mood swings. Fat burning slows. Motivation feels harder because your body is prioritizing survival over performance. Now this pattern is linked to aging, insulin resistance, fatigue, weight loss resistance, inflammation-driven disease, liver disease, including fatty liver, neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, diabetic complication, and cancer. So one powerful way to address this issue is to reduce oxidative stress, allowing the body to function and repair itself properly. So in my previous video, I explained how supporting the body's detox and drainage pathways helps it process and eliminate toxin more efficiently. So you can check that out. But oxidative stress isn't just about toxins. It's about how well your cells handle everyday stress. So oxidative stress occurs when your cells produces more reactive oxygen species than your body can neutralize. But the goal isn't to eliminate ROS. Your body needs them for normal signaling and immune function. The real goal is to restore balance, so oxidative signals don't overwhelm your cells. So let's talk about why low-intensity exercise help reduce oxidative stress. So things like walking, gentle cycling, stretching. All these activities calm the nervous system, lower stress hormones like cortisol, reduce constant inflammation, help the mitochondria work more efficiently, increase your body's natural antioxidant enzymes. So study shows that lower intensity exercise lowers markers of oxidative damage. They're increased protective antioxidants. So in simple terms, low intensity movement helps your body repairs damage without adding more stress. So this is why low intensity movement is foundational, especially for people with metabolic issues, fatigue, or high stress. So let's look at moderate exercise. Things like brisk walking, swimming, cycling, light jogging. The moderate exercise causes a temporary rise in oxidative stress, but this is actually helpful. Why? Because it teaches your cell how to defend itself better. So over time, moderate exercise strengthens antioxidant systems, reduces chronic inflammation, improves blood sugar control, improves blood vessel function, lowers long-term oxidative damage. Research indicates that even though oxidative stress initially rises, it eventually returns to baseline levels. This is why moderate exercise is strongly recommended for long-term health. So now let's look at diet, specifically the Mediterranean diet. Now the word diet comes from the Greek dietia, meaning way of life. So UNESCO recognizes the Mediterranean diet not just as a food plan, but as a cultural practice that includes growing and harvesting food, preparing meals, eating together, respecting seasonality and the land. It emphasizes quality over excess, tradition over convenience, and balance over restriction. So a landmark study compared diet, lifestyle, and heart disease across multiple populations. The results were clear. Populations following a Mediterranean-style diet had lower blood cholesterol, lower rates of heart disease, better overall metabolic health. So the protective effects was linked to high intake of vegetables, fruits, and legumes. Olive oil is the main fact. Consuming moderate fish and poultry, but minimal red meat. It involves simple home-cooked meals. However, diet alone is not enough. The Mediterranean lifestyle also includes regular physical activity, balanced calorie intake, stress management, avoidance of smoking. Now, this combination, and not food alone, explains its powerful health effects. So the Mediterranean diet is built on 4 key principles: eating the right amount, rotating foods within each food group, limiting sweets, processed foods, and excess fats, matching food intake with physical activity. So one important thing I have learned is that a Mediterranean diet isn't meant to be followed rigidly. You may need to make some adjustment based on how your body responds. So personally, foods like dairy, nuts, grains, and gluten can increase my inflammation. So I had to reduce the overall load on my body by removing them. So you may also need to make similar tweaks guided by your body's signal to create a version of the Mediterranean approach that supports your health. I think that's important. Staying in tune with how your body responds. So let's move on to talk about intermittent fasting. So this can be a powerful tool when used appropriately. Fasting improves cellular cleanup, autophagy. So when you're constantly eating, insulin and mTOR signaling remain elevated, keeping the body in a growth mode. So this is where your body is focused on building and storing rather than repairing and maintenance. So during fasting, insulin level falls, mTOR activity decreases, autophagy increases, allowing cells to break down damaged protein and dysfunctional components. This cleanup process is essential for cellular renewal, reducing oxidative damage, improving overall cell function, lowering oxidative stress markers. Now, this happens because fasting improves antioxidant enzyme activities, reduces chronic insulin and glucose exposure, lowers systemic inflammation that drives ROS production. But I want you to know, studies vary as it relates to intermittent fasting. So in some individuals, especially women, highly stressed individuals, and those with adrenaline and thyroid issues, fasting can increase cortisol, elevate adrenaline, disrupt sleep, worsen fatigue and anxiety. So in these cases, fasting becomes a stress amplifier rather than a repair signal. In some studies, blood sugar responses were inconsistent. So while fasting often improves insulin sensitivity, some people experience blood sugar drops, glucose spikes later in the day. Now, this is more likely in individuals with poor metabolic flexibility, history of under-eating, those with hormonal dysregulation, and a key part of this, nutrient matters. So fasting without adequate nutrient intake during eating windows can impair tissue repair, reduce lean mass, increase oxidative stress over time. So one simple habit I teach is fasting at night. So stop food intake about 3 to 4 hours before bed so your body can focus on rest and repair instead of digestion. But if you are very active or have blood sugar challenges, a small like snack closer to bedtime, something like a protein-rich snack like yogurt or a handful of nuts can be helpful. So you have just seen how stress, poor sleep, hormone shift, and inflammation don't just make you feel tired, they literally rewire your cells, slow down energy production, and speed up aging. But here's the good news. Your body isn't too far gone. It's just stuck in survival mode for too long. But with the proper support, it can bounce back. So by lowering oxidative stress, clearing cellular clutter, and giving your mitochondria what they need, you can help your body shift from protective mode to working at its optimum again. So if you're a woman over 40 and you're ready to feel young, more confident, and full of energy, join the 5-day Detox Challenge. You can click the link below to reserve your spot now.